How you doing, everybody? It's Bob Hamel here, back at the house. It is another time for another show all about the flavors, where we like to let the flavors of the food come through in a natural way. No sweeteners, no sugars, some sauces. We're doing a sauce today. With me, next to my left, is the executive director of WCTV, Sam Perkins. We are doing a recipe of Sam's. Is it your grandmother's?
So my dad taught me how to do it, and making. Some people call it gravy, some people call it sauce. You know, it really depends, I think, on where you're from and all that sort of stuff. But it's a pasta sauce or gravy, just a basic red sauce. But
Awesome.
It's like a staple growing up for me, and it's funny because it's an all seasonal thing. I think you think more of like real hearty pastas in the winter, but I always think, and I make it year-round. I eat far too much pasta. That's like my one vice that I have left. But I always think of it in the summer because in the summers, we'd have all the windows open in the apartment we lived in Cambridge in the city, and really get the aroma of it, especially the basil going through the apartment. So my dad would make it, and it would always make me feel like warm and happy. And when I was a teenager, he passed away, and so it's been a way to stay connected to him in that memory ever since.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So what are our ingredients? We've got garlic, we've got onion, we've got some red pepper, some basil, we've got some tomato sauce, tomato started that came from our farm share, and so I've been cooking it down a little bit. We'll probably need to cook it down a little bit more.
Yeah, so for me, a sauce is really basic. I think you can put anything you want in it, but for me, like too many ingredients, it kind of overwhelms it. I used to always just go with some diced onion, garlic. Obviously, you need your tomatoes. You can throw some little white wine in, and basil, and then salt and pepper. My wife liked a little bit more of a sweeter sauce as we sort of got together and we're growing our tastes together. She would be like, "Oh, let's just throw some sugar in it." I was like, "That's sacrilegious." So a happy medium we found is red peppers. Add a little bit of natural sweetness to it. I like to throw diced hot pepper in if I'm just making it for myself, some chili peppers, or even a habanero, depending on what I'm in the mood for. But
what we have is I've got a homemade sriracha that is from hot peppers.
Yeah.
If you want, we can pull that out. If you want to throw some of that in there,
we could definitely. I'm open to anything. I think it's really sort of the person making it, but it can be really, really simple.
Right.
I always go for a whole tomato of some sort. I don't like buying the canned like tomato sauce.
Right.
If you get the fresh tomatoes and then you boil them, peel them, all that sort of stuff, that's great. I'll go oftentimes, because I don't have the time for everything, I'll buy canned tomatoes, but I always buy canned whole. For me,
right.
There's something different about the taste, even of the canned of the whole versus it can be the same company with the same tomatoes, but the whole versus the crushed.
Yep.
It just tastes different. So I'll buy the whole, then you can blend it yourself. But yeah, so the first thing I would do, we could probably put on the water just to get that going.
Let's get that going.
Boiling.
We'll get this guy going, get the tomato going, because it probably needs to reduce down some more. I have the only burner that burns, that lights automatically, is this one, which is why if you'll notice when I'm cooking on the show, I'm always here.
Yep. So I think this is great. We got this going. I was saying to Bob earlier, I always, when I start making a sauce, I'll be like, it'll be done in a half an hour. And I always forget to turn on the water. So the sauce gets done. And then I'm like, my family's hungry, and they're like, when's it? And I'm like, oh, I forgot to turn on the water. So I remembered it today. People talk about how there's like a couple different kinds of sauces that you can make in a half an hour. There's sauces that can, you can take all day. It really depends on what you're going for. Like there are people that will reduce their tomatoes and have the sauce cook on a low heat for hours and hours and hours, and you get a lot of flavor out of it. I'm kind of on the go. I've got 2 young kids. I'm looking for quick.
Exactly.
But the first thing I would do is just dice up a white onion.
All right, let's go. Look at this, a white onion, just what we need. All righty. And you like a tight dice?
Yeah, I think it's. I like a tight dice. I mean, I've done it before where I've literally had onion slices depending on what I'm in the mood for. But typically, I think a pretty good dice.
Pretty good dice. All right. Well, I will try to exhibit my stellar knife skills. That's a joke. Dice 101. You want to get rid of the junk, for lack of a better term. And for me, usually I just do it at least 3 and get 3 in each side. You don't want to go all the way through, because if you do that, you just get slices coming off. And then just try and get your knife down as many times as you can to facilitate the dice. So in this case, let's see what we look like. Is that tight enough?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, here we go. Which is why my hands are as scarred as they are, because I have been doing this like this for a way too long period of time. All right. I know some chefs on television, they could be doing this and looking at the camera and talking. I'm not one of those.
Still more advanced than me. I just learned a new trick as far as the way you didn't quite go all the way to the end so that you can dice it much more easily.
Oh, there you go.
I always go all the way to the end, and then I'm like holding it and I'm hanging on the computer life while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, that way too, if you don't need it, does that look like enough?
That looks great. I think that's definitely enough for
okay, so we can
our need.
We can just let those guys sit there. Then heat up this pan, right? And we'll do a little quick saute.
Yep, looks great. You know, I always go with olive oil. Always go unplug extra virgin. You know, I feel like there really is a difference in taste.
Oh,
you know, for the whatever teeny tiny bit more it might cost versus some of the other. You got to go extra virgin for the olive oil. And then
cucumber.
Every stove is different. I've learned, but I'll try and set the heat to a medium heat, and you kind of got to eyeball it until you get to, well, you probably know the stove like the back of your hand, so.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like if I'm somewhere new or whatever, I always kind of keep an eye on it. You know, you can dice the onions. You could do the pepper too, because the onions and the pepper kind of going around the same time.
Okay.
A mistake that a lot of people will make if they're new, and then other people will roll their eyes at me like, why are you even wasting time saying that everyone should know that, but is they'll throw the onions and the diced onions and diced garlic in at the same time. And although onions and garlic are both from the shallot family, they're both they cook at different rates. And
yes, they
do. If you throw the onions in with the garlic, you're going to wind up with burnt garlic and a ruined sauce, because burnt garlic does not taste very nice.
They are both from the Alenium family, which I just found out yesterday. And again, you're going to want a tight dice on this, I imagine. All right, let's get.
There's a nice dice you've got going on there, Bob.
Thank you, Sam.
Mine always looks like just a hatchet job whenever I'm, especially with peppers. You know, they're like they're not so firm.
Yeah, you know, 6 years of catering. You do a lot of chopping.
Do you have any dishes that to you they really bring back a distinct memory that like like for me it's like I just think of summer days in my dad's apartment in Cambridge. But are there foods for you, dishes that you make that they bring back distinct memories for you?
You know, that's an interesting question, because for my dad was always the, you know, summertime at the lake barbecue, you know, do the cookout guy.
Yeah.
And it was always hot dogs and hamburgers.
That's a great one right there.
Yeah, but my dad was not my dad was a wonderful man. He was a horrible cook. He could not, he had no patience. So, and I think that there might have been some adult beverages involved in it at the time. But if a burger was cooking on the grill, my dad had to check it. And he wouldn't check it by touching it on the outside. He would check it by making little cuts in the top. So by the time that sucker was cooked, it was leather. But you know, that was Dad.
Wow.
So you want all this in here now, or
So we could, you know,
just do the onion first, or?
I think you could put the onion and the pepper in. You know,
Okay.
you could kind of eyeball it and what feels comfortable for you in the pan. I don't know if it's the whole thing or if it's whatever
Probably
you feel like is good.
this. Let's go with half and half.
That sounds good. That sounds pretty good.
Okay, and we can just leave this over here. Take
Oh,
our
it
other
smells great
board.
already. The sound, the smell, that's everything right there.
And get this.
I always meant to ask you, and maybe I have, but I'm not remembering now. Do you have a single favorite dish to cook that you've done?
Yes, I do, and it's split pea soup.
Wow.
I make it with. We do the split peas, the whole peas, chicken stock, and then ham, pieces of ham in there, and it's just, it's so good. It just, let's get this guy down. Yeah, my knife skills aren't as good as we said, but whatever. And then how about the garlic?
Yeah, and then the next thing, I do a good dice on the garlic. You know, you chop off the heads of it that don't taste, or
Well, that guy's
it's
no
not
good.
so much the taste, but it's the, you know, the texture of that
Right.
head part. You get rid of that, and people have always asked like how much garlic. You know, I remember the only thing I can answer is my wife's mom was coming up to visit, and I had forgotten about garlic, and I think I'd gotten it twice from the store, like this big, sort of at Market Basket, shameless plug. They have the pre-peeled cloves of garlic, so it's not the canned.
It's not the jarred
It's
stuff.
not the jarred stuff. I don't
No.
like the jarred stuff. It's a different taste. I think it's a vinegar or something they
Yeah.
put in that. But it's pre-peeled.
Oh, I
and
know exactly what you're
I've
talking
gotten
about.
a couple of those cartons, and then I forgot, and my wife's mom, my mother-in-law, was going to the store to get stuff for cooking, and I had said, pick up some more garlic, and she opened it up, so there's now like 3 things of garlic. She sent a picture of it to a group chat, and I was like, I still don't know if we have enough garlic. I will throw garlic as much in everything. I don't think you can have too much garlic in something that you're cooking.
Oh, I agree with
I
you.
think it adds so much. There's all the negative stereotypes about the smell or the breath or whatever, but I think garlic is just one of the most wonderful things. So garlic in the pasta sauce for me is really to your taste and to your preference, but I will always use as much as I have as much as I have handy and as much as I have patience for cutting.
Well, we're going to go with 3 cloves then.
I think I would say 3 cloves is at least that's a good amount, and I wouldn't go less than 3 cloves.
No, I agree with you.
And like I had said, garlic's one of those things that, you know, you get the onions going, you get the pepper going.
You get that sweated down.
And then you get the garlic in there, but the garlic really only a minute or 2 probably simmering before you add the tomatoes to prevent the garlic from
burning.
Because it's one of those things that when it's cooked right, it tastes wonderful. It adds so much. But if you overcook it and it burns, you got to throw the whole thing out and start over.
Exactly.
There's no salvaging it really if you burn the garlic in there.
No, it's just acrid. It's a horrid taste. All right, there we go. Is that all good?
That looks good. That looks great. Yeah.
All right, let's do a little more of this. Think it's ready to go in?
I think it is.
All right, let's get this in.
It's looking good.
All right. Now, my favorite form of garlic is roasted garlic,
I love.
where I have this pot behind you, this clay pot. Just put the cloves in here. cut the top off, a little bit of oil, cover it up, throw it in the oven at 350 for about until it starts.
Yeah.
So you start getting that smell, and it's like, okay, baby.
I love the roasted garlic. I need to look into a pot like that. I always have to go with the, cut the top, off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the rest of it in the kind of skin. Kind of really get a bunch of olive oil on it, and then wrap it in tin foil, or you put it in the tin foil, add all that. Wrap it up, put it on a baking sheet, put it in the oven, but that looks much better.
Oh, it's you can do like 6 or 7 cloves at one time.
My favorite place for roasted garlic, my favorite restaurant of all time was a place called the Tashka.
I'm going to turn this off, I think, for now.
It works, yeah. It was a Portuguese restaurant in Cambridge called the Tashka. I used to go there with my dad all the time. I love that place. And they had their bread and oil. They bring out the oil with the roasted garlic cloves in it to the point that it would you dip the bread in it and the garlic cloves would melt. And it just tasted so good. It was wonderful. I've used that kind of roasted garlic in all kinds of different stuff. I've thrown it in with, when I'm making guacamole, throwing it in with the avocados and blended it up. I just think there's so many uses for it.
I use it in, I would put it on toast.
Yeah.
How's that look for consistency?
That looks great.
Okay.
Yeah.
We put the pasta in. Oh, actually, the sausage. Did you want sausage in there?
I mean, any kind of meat is great. You can cook it separately.
Okay.
It's really your choice. I mean, I feel like if we've gotten it to this point, we could get
pull another pan out.
Yeah,
and
we
do
could.
that.
Yeah, get this just
the sausage.
Because I'm worried that if we put it in now, that the garlic will burn before the sausage is gone.
Yep.
So
we don't want that.
I mean, before the sausage is cooked.
Right. Let's just throw this in here. And do you like the casing on or off?
On's great by me.
Okay.
I'm a no frills, no high needs kind of person. So
we'll go with a rough cut on this, so we'll get some big chunks. So we'll have different textures. And maybe just give it a bit of a one down the middle. There we go. All right, let's get this bad boy cranking. Put this over here. Okay, we'll get this going really well. Get some heat up there.
Now, with your pasta, how do you like the noodles that you're making? Do you like them al dente? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love al dente. Ugh, I can't speak today. A little bit of firmness to them,
You got to have a little bit of tooth, a little bit of bite.
Yeah, I feel like that's the way to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, get that going in just a minute. I'll let this, because this will cook up quick in a small pan. You're right, you don't want to put it in, because the garlic's gonna burn.
Yep, and then you're gonna.
Then we're starting all over again. We're getting Elijah to roll the camera back, and here we go again.
So that's what I'll often make the meat in a separate pan, just because.
Yeah.
I'm always worried about losing track of something and burning the garlic and whatever, and
one of the kids goes, "Daddy, look at this, look at this."
Yeah.
And then,
or just my ADD starts kicking in and I get distracted by something else. And
squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one. I know that part. This sauce is looking really nice.
Yeah, it is.
I like that. I think we got some winner here. So yeah, my favorite food to make is either pea soup, which we did a show on.
Yep.
Or French onion soup, which we did a show on.
Yeah, Elijah and I were here for the French onion soup. We got a free meal after that one. So.
Yeah, that was a good show.
That is a great winter warmer right there. I mean,
I love it.
I love it all seasons, but it's really in the winter is
winter is just the time to have it, because it just gives you that. You get the Swiss cheese, you get the toast, the bread in there.
Yeah.
It's just, and 4 or 5 different types of onions, so you get the different varieties, like from the leeks, the shallots, the onion.
I love using the different varieties of onion. I think that's what makes it. And it should be said that for for the pasta sauces, you know, I don't want to just say my pasta sauce, because I think for anyone's pasta sauce, depending on your personal flavor, taste, any of that, you could work with a shallot, you could work with, you know, different kinds of cooking onions, and it's going to taste great. You know, I know that sometimes you don't want to add too much difference to it. Someone might not want to add as many different onion varieties as they would with a French onion soup. But
Right.
I'll often add a white and a shallot, like one shallot, one small white.
Yeah, definitely. Because they're different.
Yeah.
And they
I think
bring.
it just adds to a more robust flavor.
This year we got a lot of leeks from the farm share.
Yeah.
And so we were putting leeks in everything.
Yeah.
And, oh, what a difference. This is that hot sauce I was telling you about. If you want to give it a try, see if you want to add some. There's a little bit of honey in there to tone it down.
It's great.
You think it's too overpower?
We could maybe just a tiny bit. We could put a little bit in there. Yeah.
Okay. And you don't want the fat in there.
No, and that is one of the other advantages to cooking the meat separately, is that you can kind of add the meat without making the sauce too oily, too fatty.
Exactly.
So that is another bonus of cooking the meat in a separate pan.
There we go.
Got that going?
Yeah.
Put that back on the
Get this back on. Hey, you, get over here.
sausage.
You're going back
runaway
in.
sausage.
Yeah, can't have a runaway sausage.
And then what do you think? Do you think that we're ready to add the
I think we're
tomatoes? I
Yeah,
think so.
I think so. You want to get this temperature. It's at medium now. That should be good. Let's do a little quick stir there. I'm going to turn this bad boy down. Let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
It's looking good, Bob.
All right. Hey. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it today, you know? Now, you want some basil in here, too?
Oh yeah, I think basil's another thing that's like you can almost never overdo it with the basil.
Nope.
So, and the way that I'll do it a lot of the time is I'll dice up some and throw it in with the sauce while it cooks, and I'll reserve some of it to then throw on top, diced up fresh after the sauce
Afterwards.
is done.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's how we're going to do it.
I am never that skilled or neat with the basil. It's always all over the place on the cutting board.
I will
just
show
trying
you
to
a
corral it.
trick in just a moment of how we are going to do the finished, the top basil, and how you can do it and have it so that it's beautiful. It's a French technique called a chiffonade, and what you do is you take your leaves, the bigger the better. Take your leaves out, lay them down one on top of the other, kind of like you're making a cigar,
Okay.
and then take it and then roll it. Make it as
Wow.
tight as possible. Okay? So you get that.
Yeah.
Take your knife, starting at the end, just make your ribbon cuts like that, as thin as you possibly can. And this is a technique called the chiffonade. It's a French technique, and it comes out like little
That looks beautiful.
little strings. And there we go.
It's a great garnish for the top of the pasta.
Oh yeah. So, pasta.
Oh yeah, pasta. I forgot about the pasta once again. I always do that.
How much salt?
You know, I think that's probably good, but they always say make it like seawater, so you can make it pretty salty.
Let's go with that. We have a penne rigata.
Yeah. I always like a shorter, I think I talked to you, a shorter, thicker. There's all kinds of different fun shapes.
Oh
I
yeah.
found a website that I want to use that has all different kinds of pasta from all over at pretty reasonable rates. I got a pasta maker to start for Christmas for my mother-in-law to start making my own.
Oh, nice.
You know, which is great. I'm a little intimidated about doing it. You know, because I'm sure I'm going to mess it up the first several times. But
yeah, you will.
Yeah,
'Cause I did.
Yeah.
I have it, and I just did some a couple weeks ago, and I could not get it to roll out thin enough, and so it looked fine until I cooked it, and then it just exploded.
But it's, you know, everyone's different. But I've always had a preference for the shorter, thicker noodles, whether it's you know, rigatoni, ziti, you know, penne. You know, there's all kinds of different fun shapes out there, but I just like the shorter, thicker noodles.
Yep.
If I am going with, you know, the people that like spaghetti, I really am not a spaghetti. I'll always go with like a fettuccine if it's a longer noodle.
Exactly.
It's a thicker one.
Pappardelle.
Yeah, pappardell's great.
Good, we have our reserve in case we need it. So let's get some serving plates. I'm gonna clean this up.
And you know, with the pasta, it's always, you know, I think it says it'll say like 9 to 11 minutes or something. Yeah, everything's a little different on the box.
Everything.
Pay attention to what it says, but I always start checking it right around the low end of the time.
Yep.
To see how's it looking.
Yeah, we've had about 2 minutes.
I'm terrible at approximating, so
I'm just gonna let it come up to boil.
Could have been 2 minutes. It could have been 30 seconds with my attention span. So.
Oh man. Oh, that smells so good. I don't want to burn it, so I'm just gonna leave this heat down as low as I can get it. So that we don't burn anything.
Yeah.
But that's looking really good. I think we might throw a little more basil in there too, because we got it.
Yeah.
Let's use it. Yeah, I'm going for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like garlic and basil is, you really never have too much of it.
No, you don't. You don't. And it's just it's the best. Let's pull this over here. Do a little rough chop. Oh, yeah.
Nothing smells better than that.
Nothing.
I remember there was a community garden, which in Cambridge was, you know, it's a city. It's very different from Wilmington. And there was a lot that I loved about growing up there, but, you know, there was not a lot of green spaces. There was a lot of buildings and concrete, but there was a community garden 1 street over from my dad's apartment. And
oh, nice.
In the summer, like with the windows open, you'd get the smells and walk around in there and just could smell the basil.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I always remember was the basil, and they would have, in summertime, would be these golden raspberries. I love those. They're like a light orange gold color raspberry.
Yeah.
They're sweeter than regular red raspberries. They're not quite as tart, and I really love those too.
Yeah, you gotta love. That's the stuff that, you know. That's what memories are formed from.
It's funny how much we associate food with memories too. Like, you know, just as people, you know, it's like. Yeah. Food, I think, is really interconnected with like great memories.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had my mother and my father both worked, and my mother was a teacher, my dad was a dentist, and we had this woman, Jamaican woman, named Marceline. Worked for my parents, and every other week she would come to the house and she'd clean the house. Then she also would cook dinner. And the food, Marceline Holder's food, was just the most phenomenal food I'd ever had in my life. It just was, she could take a cut of meat that, you know, like lamb shank. Lamb tends to be kind of stinky, not the way she did it. It would just come out so amazingly flavorful, tender, and when I was a kid, I couldn't say her whole name. All I could say was Ma. So I would follow her around all day, going Ma, Ma. And she's just the sweetest woman. Absolutely the sweetest woman. Okay, these guys they're working. They're not there yet. We'll give them a few more minutes. Should we take this off the heat?
Yeah, you can. I feel like you can. That is a worry, is overcooking the sauce and having it get a little the liquid and the tomatoes sort of
Get
starting
the balance.
to separate. Yeah, and it really depends on what sort of a sauce you're going for. Like, if you like a thicker tomato with your sauce, you could have added more tomato to this. If you're looking for more of a sauce that the tomato is sort of the background vocals to the meat, which is what we're doing here.
There you go.
What fantastic!
Is that good? All right, I'm diving in.
What kind of a sausage is that?
Hot Italian.
That's the way to go. I always go with that. My wife doesn't like it.
Oh yeah. Oh my
She's
God.
just my wife's just doesn't like spicy. So
yeah.
But that's another reason why I cook separately, because I'll make the meat for her and our kids in one pan, which isn't as spicy, and I'll make a hot Italian sauce for myself in a separate pan. And then I can still get a little bit of spiciness even if I'm not throwing hot pepper into the sauce itself.
There you go. That works.
Yeah.
That has such depth of flavor. I really like that. That is
fantastic sauce, Bob.
Hey, learning from the master here.
I wouldn't call myself that, but this is the one thing that I really do know. It's simple.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of the first things I learned how to cook when I was still in high school. But yeah, so that was it. It's a very simple sauce, but it really hits the spot all seasons, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's phenomenal. It's just having palpitations.
Well, this is a thrill for me. The show has been so, we all love it. And, I've been behind the camera for some of these episodes. Getting to be
It's
here
fun to be out front.
Cool. Yeah.
Good to be the king.
Yeah.
So the other thing too that I think is amazing, that the show is being covered by other community PEG stations throughout the country, and Maria, who works with Sam, she told me that at last count we have had over almost 847,000 views of 20 of 10 of these shows.
Did you start?
Amazing.
Was it the ones that when we started using the new cameras? Those
Yes.
are the ones that they
all
really popped.
The ones from this past.
That's great. Yeah.
End of last year through this year, to all of 24 and what we've done 25, and it's just I'm just floored.
Yeah, it's really.
That's just something that I look at and I say to myself, wow, that's. I'm thinking this might be.
It's very close. If it's not
a little
yeah, maybe a minute or two.
Yeah, okay.
It's a whole wheat pasta, so
yeah,
it's. I think you really got to keep an eye on the whole wheat, because it's one of those things with them. There's a smaller window to get that al dente thing, but it feels like it's just about there.
Yeah, it's hard to tell too, because it's it's dark. I can't.
Yep.
I can't tell if it's cooked or it's not cooked. So this is looking darn awesome. Okay, so we'll drain that in a minute.
That's pasta. I feel like you bested me at my own pasta there, Bob. That tastes fantastic.
Oops. Well, that one got lost to humanity. Try another. See if we're at the right spot.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is definitely. Once you get to the plating and all that sort of stuff, I'm a big time amateur. I just slap it on the plate and always overserve myself and then run with it.
Yeah, that's all right. This is good. I think this should work out pretty well. Like 2 spoons each.
Yeah.
There we go. Take this over here. Take this over here.
Want me to turn this off?
Yep. Thank you. This over here. A little more. A little more. there. Chiffonade.
That's the piece de resistance right there.
Right there. Got to get the little chiffonade on.
I'm going to try that out the next time that I make it, because that basil looks so much better than the hack job that I do at the end of my recipes.
It's such a simple technique.
Yeah.
Would you like some Parmesan cheese on?
I'll take a little of the finer. Yeah.
Okay. Elijah, would you like some of this?
You'll get nothing and you'll like it.
And ladies and gentlemen, Sam's father's pasta. Way to go.
Bob, is it okay if I have a seltzer?
Take whatever you want.